stakes are incredibly high.
The Dow dropped nearly 1,000 points in a half hour.
It's intimidating, it's frightening.
The partial government shutdown.
We all know that our government is way off track. The debt is astronomical and is going to cripple not only our own freedom and our own economy, but our children and our grandchildren are going to be effectively slaves paying for all of the things that we're spending money on today. We also know that Washington, D.C. will never fix itself. The Founding Fathers recognized that this was a potential as well, and in Article 5 of the Constitution, they gave us a solution. The states have the power under Article 5 to call a convention of the states for the purpose of proposing amendments to the Constitution. Because sometimes what you need is not a change of personnel, you need a change of structure. The founders understood the importance of structure, and they gave the power to the states to create a new set of rules. When the federal government overstepped its boundaries, we could recalibrate the rules to take power away from Washington, D.C. and give it back to the people and to the states. There's a simple plan for doing this. There are 4,000 legislative districts that are really crucial to us, and we want to have grassroots organizations in 4,000 legislative districts across the country. These are state house legislative districts because the state legislature is what matters. We need you to join with us. We need 100 citizens in each of these districts to be citizen volunteers and local leaders to make sure that Washington, D.C.'s power is taken back and return it to the people. The Founding Fathers understood that structure was an important part of preserving liberty. Please join with us at conventionofstates.com and help us preserve liberty not only for ourselves, but for our children, our grandchildren, and the generations to come.
Again, I want to stress this is not about Al Gore. It's not about the environmental groups that have been horribly lame in this equation. While they're focusing on some fish or frog and the house is burning down, I've never seen such complacency from people who claim to care. I know a lot of these people who claim to care, and yet they cannot find the courage in themselves to face this issue above all others, to unite with those who are willing to face this issue. So we now, in fact, I believe, based on all available data, face a scenario of a runaway greenhouse effect. If they continue to spray, they continue to shred the ozone, they continue to poison the boreal forest, they continue to alter the wind and water currents, and people who live around here must know that the weather patterns are horribly different. Even when I moved here in 2000, when the storm came in, you could see the cyclonic rotation coming in, the wind blew, the clouds were overhead. You didn't have this melted together sky, this featureless sky with very little wind. The rain comes less, it drizzles here and drizzled there. They have radically skewed our weather equation. If they continue to do this, we will face what's called a runaway greenhouse effect. I'll elaborate on that in a minute. One of the players involved, Raytheon. Now, this is important too. People need to understand the foxes are running the hen house. Raytheon is up to their eyeballs in weather modification. Raytheon does all the weather modeling for the National Weather Service and the National Oceanic Administration. So those who are making the weather, they form the message. They're the ones telling us what it's going to be like. Do you wonder what does mostly sunny mean? What does that mean? Mostly sunny now means a sky full of sprayed aerosols. That's their term. They've coined lots of new terms because, again, Raytheon does all the modeling for National Weather Service and NOAA. Lockheed Martin, by the way, does all the modeling for the FAA. Now, let's put the Rothschilds into the equation. I realize this sounds very conspiratorial, but in fact, they do own the major weather disseminating agencies, Weather Channel, Weather Underground, Weather Central. So here we have players that are up to their eyeballs behind the scenes in the global geoengineering operations, also controlling the message. That's why Weather Channel now has terms like, the rain is going to change over to snow. Well, since when did rain just change over to snow without orographic enhancement? It means moving over mountains, or without colliding with the cold air mass. Why would rain change over to snow at 45 degrees? Because it's being chemically nucleated. We have the patents for this process. We know what's going on. We've tested the snow. The Chinese admitted they were doing it. So they have all these terms now to make people go back to sleep and think it's normal. They call it heavy wet snow again, this concrete snow that destroys everything. And so that's why it's frequently to have these events like I mentioned in Amarillo, Texas. 100 degrees one day, snow the next. People should know this is not natural weather or cyclical patterns. Again, more Rothschild's ownership, Rothschilds in the geoengineering empire. U.S. military explores geoengineering, which we know that they have for many, many years. There's too many journalists now, especially of late, they're writing books and doing articles describing everything we see, everything. Another document, Solar Radiation Management Governance Initiative. Documents like this abound for anybody who takes the time to look. This discusses the international governance of solar geoengineering amongst the elites. Not that we would have any choice of who dumps whatever into our skies or controls our weather, because we're not a part of the equation. This is amongst the government elites to discuss how they will control our weather. Geoengineering governance. Another such document, discussion from the global elite as to how they will control our weather. No say for us. Full spectrum dominance. This is a military term for a desired objective to control all aspects strategically, including the weather. It's imperative that we stop geoengineering, stop hampering the planet's ability to try to compensate for damages done. This is our site, Geoengineering Watch. There's only a couple of us that really do this, but there's more and more starting to help now. All of us can contribute to this greatly, and this is how you do it. From your own home computer, if you locate groups, organizations, and individuals that would care, if they had a clue. So many people don't have a clue about this issue. And you get credible data. You send them that data. Send them some credible documentation and files. Plead with them to examine this. And I mean groups like Alzheimer's groups, autism groups, the ADD groups, forestry groups, fishing groups. All of these groups are affected. If you send them credible data, send them a flaming arrow, as people take notice of the climate unraveling, and it is unraveling, geoengineering is fueling that fire, those flaming arrows will catch, many of them will catch. If you arm yourself with flyers, for example, to pass out, we have a lot of credible flyers, you can download them off geoengineeringwatch.org for free, and if you pass those out, it does a lot more good than running out in the street, ranting and pointing at the sky. I believe this, that if we could bring this to the light of day, if we could make mainstream media cover this, if we could get critical mass of awareness, enough people who participate and make these programs possible would refuse. I have been contacted by scientists from 4 major universities in previous months, Stanford, Duke, Harvard, UC of Florida. A scientist from Stanford, Stanford's definitely involved with these programs, has told me that there are people on the inside participating in this research that now are pulling back. They're refusing to because they realize the cataclysm it's causing. And I believe enough people, especially from the U.S. military, who we have incredibly dedicated, honorable people in the U.S. military that are being told this is something they need to do, they must do, it's for the good of the planet. When they realize what this is doing to the planet, their countrymen rely on, their children rely on, I believe those honorable men and women will pull back, that they will certainly be on our side. We simply need to bring this to light. If we could bring it to light, it would change our equation radically for the better. That's my goal. That's why I'm here. That's my mission. Thank you very much for attending, and I appreciate all of your efforts toward this goal. Thank you.
I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons. I'm not naive.
Obama's duplicity is perhaps historically unparalleled. As soon as he envisioned a planet without nuclear weapons, he mushroomed nuclear weapons spending to levels above the height of the Cold War. He's expanded the infamous Bush doctrine of a nuclear strike against any country. regardless of international law. Full spectrum dominance is the official term used by his administration, meaning, quote, control everything everywhere on sea, land, air, space, and outer space. US Space Command documents plan to even deny other nations the use of space. The one remaining power with the capacity to stop what the Pentagon calls full spectrum dominance, writes intelligence analyst William Engdahl, is Russia.